Welcome back to Luke's Properties YouTube channel. In this video, we're going to discuss the traits of my most successful rent-to-rent students. I want to talk to you about what my most successful students all have in common, and hopefully you can adopt some of these traits too and then achieve the same success that they have. So if we start with the common traits of my successful students, the first thing that comes to mind when I think about them is a strong reason why. You always need a strong reason why you're doing something, and this reason why can vary with different people. For me, my reason why was because I was desperate to get into property. I didn't have enough money to buy a property, but I really wanted to build a property business and learn the game. So when I discovered rent to rent, I became completely obsessed with it because it was an opportunity for me to use the small amount of money that I did have to get my foot in the door, learn how property works, create a service-based business for landlords, be around landlords, learn how their minds work, how they operate, with the long-term goal of building up enough money to start buying my own properties. So that was my reason why I always loved property from a young age, but I never thought I'd have enough money to get started. And once I discovered rent to rent, I became obsessed with it, and I was desperate to build a rent to rent business. For some of my other students, Esfa for example, she wanted to build a rent to rent business so she could spend more time at home with her family. She's got a young family of 3 children, so she wanted to be able to spend more time with them rather than being pulled away from them working at her job as a nurse. So that was her strong reason why. My most recent success student, Aman, I remember speaking to her 7 to 8 weeks ago now on a discovery call. And when I asked Aman why she wanted to build a rent-to-rent business, she said to me that it recently dawned on her that she's never taken her kids on holiday before because she's always been working. She's also a mum like Esfa, she's got 4 kids, and she'd never taken them on holiday before because she works as a teacher, so to earn money, she always had to go and do work. Her time was linked to her income. So her reason for starting a rent-to-rent business was so that she could earn money from a business by only working a couple hours a day, rather than 8 hours a day. And with a rent-to-rent business, you can run the business from your laptop or your phone, because once you've furnished the property and you've found tenants, the business becomes relatively passive. You advertise the property on your phone, you message potential tenants back on your phone, arrange viewings. If the tenants want to move in, they can send you the correct documentation over email. You can run the whole business from your phone or your laptop by only working a couple hours a day. And that was Aman's reason why. She's just taken on her first rent-to-rent deal. Once she gets a couple more, she would have replaced her income and she'll be able to go on that holiday and take her children away for the first time because her income won't be tied to her going to work. She can still work a couple hours a day while she's away on the beach from her laptop or her phone, and her business will make money for her rather than her having to trade her time, her most valuable asset, for money as a teacher. So that was her reason why. You must have a strong reason why, because it will help you when you go through difficult times, which you will do inevitably in any business that you choose to start. There's going to be adversity, there's going to be rejection, there's going to be obstacles along the way. And if you haven't got a strong reason why you started in the first place, then at those times of difficulty, you're going to just give up. So you have to have a strong reason why. Another common trait of my success students is they're all action takers. Most of my success students, they start to work their way through my course curriculum, but before they finished and have all of the information, they start taking action. They start calling agents, calling landlords, booking viewings, and making offers. Those are the actions that get you deals. So they're all action takers. They all start before they feel ready. They all start before everything's perfect. They start taking messy, chaotic action before they finished the entire course curriculum. They just start going for it. And that's what gets things done. Another common trait of my success students is resilience. They all have resilience. When I think about Mo, one of my success students in Birmingham, he's making over £5,000 a month from his rent-to-rent portfolio. But in the first 3 to 6 months when Mo joined our program, I remember speaking to him on Zoom. He was so discouraged because agents were telling him no. He was facing rejection after rejection, but it never stopped him. He kept going. He had resilience. Same with Esfa. She also got told no many times by estate agents and by landlords, but it never held her back. It never stopped her from taking action. The same with Aman. Before she got her most recent offer accepted, she got turned down by 2 other landlords, but this didn't stop her from taking action. Again, this shows resilience. Another common trait of my successful rent-to-rent students is consistency. Now, when I look at my success students' journeys and I look at my own journey, something that stands out to me is consistency. See, once you get to a stage where you're viewing properties, you're pitching your service correctly, then once you're doing this consistently for a sustained period of time, this is where the results come from. It's all well and good viewing 1 or 2 properties, maybe making one offer here and there. That doesn't get you anywhere. But what does get you somewhere is consistently viewing properties, making offers over and over again. A common trend in all of my success students, numbers wise, is around 30 viewings. Around 3 to 4 offers normally gets you one deal. And to get those 30 viewings, you've had to message over 100 landlords or agents. You've had to send out hundreds of letters to landlords, all to get those 30 viewings, to make those 3 or 4 offers just to get one deal. And these are numbers that all of my successful students have been able to achieve. This is the amount of volume that they've put out into the universe. Because of this consistent work rate over a sustained period of time, they've all achieved success. Another trait of my success students is being open to coaching. They've all been very good listeners. Whenever we've had coaching sessions, they've listened to the information that I've told them, and then they've gone and implemented it. They haven't gone against what I've said. They haven't tried to do anything different to what I've told them to do. They've stuck to the plan, stuck to the script, and because of this, they've achieved results. All these people you can see on the screen, these are just a handful of my success students. They're all very easy to coach. They're all very coachable people. They have the ability to take in information and then go and implement it. They don't question what I say. They receive the information, make some notes, and then they go to work. Another trait that they all have is self-belief. They all have a huge sense of self-belief. They all believe that they can build their rent-to-rent business. They've seen other people just like them achieve rent-to-rent success, and they all believe that if they have the correct knowledge and the correct mentor guiding them, then there's no reason why they can't succeed too. They don't lack self-belief. They believe that if they do the work, then they'll get the result. And the final key trait that they all have is they're all resourceful problem solvers. They all had to deal with adversity along their journeys. They've all had potential rent-to-rent deals that haven't quite worked out for them. They've all been able to solve problems and adjust on the spot. With rent-to-rent, you have to be a problem solver. Sometimes you'll take on a property which is midway through a refurbishment, and to get a deal over the line and to build trust with the landlord, it might take for you to go and help out with the landlord. Maybe you know some tradesmen that they could use. Maybe you could help out with some of the painting, decorating. I've done that in the past. I've even got my dad to lay laminate flooring. I've bought my own white goods. I've sanded down staircases, sanded down floors, painted floorboards, furnished properties. I've even paid for people to lay carpets in some of the houses. So a common trait that all of my success students have is being resourceful and problem solving. My student Aman, she currently has the keys to her first rent-to-rent deal 2 to 3 weeks before she's agreed to start paying for it, because she's helping the landlord get it ready to be marketed. She's measuring up, she's putting her own white goods in there, she's furnishing it, and by doing this, it really builds trust with the landlord. They like to see that you're committed too, and when you're putting your time, effort, and resources into someone else's asset, that builds trust so quickly because they feel like you're working as a team rather than them doing all the work themselves. And because of this, the rapport builds, they trust you more, and if you do a good job with the first property, most landlords normally give you the keys to their other properties because they trust you and they like the way you work, because you've showed them how trustworthy you are, how committed you are to making sure the property is in good working order and that it's marketed well so that it can attract those premium tenants. So it's a collaboration process between you as the rent-to-rent operator and the landlord. You have to be able to furnish the properties on a budget, which takes resourcefulness. You don't want to overspend on someone else's asset because you don't own it. You want to improve the perceived value, make it look as good as possible without spending too much. That's the main skill with rent-to-rent, and this takes resourcefulness. It might take for you to go to the charity shop and get furniture on a budget. It might take for you to go to IKEA Bargain Corner and get yourself some bargains. You might need to repurpose old furniture, sand it down, paint it, improve it. This all takes resourcefulness. So now let's look at the rent-to-rent success formula. So first we've got clarity. Clarity being your strong reason why. Why are you starting this business? What do you want to achieve? What's your dream outcome? Where do you see yourself in 6 months to a year's time? You have to have a strong reason why. You need clarity on this. Clarity plus action. Action being sending those messages, sending those letters out, getting those viewings booked, and making offers. That's the action that you have to commit to. Being able to be mentored, listening to my advice, and implementing what I tell you to do. This is the formula for rent-to-rent success. Clarity, a clear reason why, action, arranging viewings, making offers, plus proper mentorship. Meeting up with me once a week on Zoom, allowing me to coach you, listening to what I tell you to do, and implementing what I tell you to do, and speaking to me on WhatsApp whenever you need me. If you can get this formula right, I guarantee you rent-to-rent success. Now let's quickly look at some of my successful rent-to-rent student stories. So Esfa, for example, she worked as a nurse, and at the time when I started working with Esfa, she was being given an ultimatum to either take a vaccine or lose her job, which she didn't appreciate. She didn't like feeling like she was being backed into a corner. This was one of her reasons why she started her rent-to-rent business. Fast forward to now, she's financially free through rent-to-rent. Mo was an ex-footballer. I can relate to Mo's story. He went out to Qatar to try and become a footballer. Things didn't work out for whatever reason. He came back to Birmingham and decided he didn't want to leave his dream in other people's hands. So he took control and built his business. He had a strong reason why. A man, a teacher and a mum of 4, wanted time freedom. Now she's got her first rent-to-rent deal, and it won't be long before she's earning passively while relaxing on the beach with her kids. Tim's an accountant. He wanted extra income to travel and build towards owning his own HMOs. Tim now has 2 HMOs in Coventry. He's always travelling to different destinations all over the world, and he's in the process of buying his first HMO. By combining his salary as an accountant with his rent-to-rent profits, he boosted his income, improved his lifestyle, was able to travel more and work less hours as an accountant and save more money, which has allowed him to start buying assets himself. Majid was a restaurant owner. He used to be exhausted working long shifts, so he decided to build a rent-to-rent business which pays him passively so he could spend more time with his family. He went from a busy restaurateur to a thriving rent-to-rent operator. He now works a couple hours a day on his rent-to-rent business, and I think he sold his restaurant so he can focus solely on his rent-to-rent business, which pays him more money and allows him to work less hours and spend more time with his family. So Majid had a strong reason why. And next could be you. What's your story? What's your reason why? I really want you to think about that. Why do you want to build a rent-to-rent business? What motivates you? Where do you see yourself in 6 months to a year's time? Now, what do all my success students have in common? They all started scared, they stayed consistent, they followed the system. Now they're living lives on their own terms. And you could be next. There's no reason why you couldn't succeed too. These people are just normal people, as am I, but they all have traits in common. So if you're watching this video and you're considering starting your own rent-to-rent business, start to think about what traits you have and whether you can develop some. Do you have a strong reason why? Are you an action taker? Are you resilient? Do you have consistency? Are you open to coaching? Do you have belief in yourself? Are you resourceful? Are you a problem solver? These are the traits that I see in all of my success students, and these are the traits that I have. These are the traits that I believe you need to succeed in rent-to-rent. Now, if you need someone to help you get your first 1 to 3 rent-to-rent deals within the next 180 days guaranteed, then I'll put a link in the video description below. Click the link and book in a free call with myself. On that call, we'll work out if we're a good fit for each other and whether I'd be a good mentor for you. If not, then keep watching my videos, work on developing the traits that my successful students have, and go out there and build your rent-to-rent business. I believe in you. You just have to believe in yourself. I hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. And as always, I'll see you on the next one.